The main ingredient that influences how our animations feel is easing. It describes the rate at which something changes over a period of time. Here you can see a simple example of how easing can transform an animation. If we toggle between the two easing types, we can notice that even though every other property stays the same, the animation feels significantly different. It also plays an important role in how fast our interfaces feel, so it's absolutely crucial to get it right, as the perception of speed is oftentimes more important than the actual performance of your app. Which one of these two spinners would load faster, do you think? I would say the one on the right, simply because the animation is faster. And while this specific example focuses on duration, easing can also significantly alter the perception of speed. Like this modal animation that has the exact same duration, but different easing curves. To know which easing to choose, I've developed a system for myself that I reference when working on animations. It's a blueprint that will be a great starting point if you don't know much about motion. It covers every type of easing that is built into CSS, and it describes when to use it. Additionally, it provides a few custom easing curves made by Benjamin de Kock that I use very often. We will talk about them later. Let's start with ease out. This is the curve I use the most in my UI work. It's great for user-initiated interactions, like opening a modal, as the acceleration at the beginning gives the user a feeling of responsiveness. I apply this easing for most enter and exit animations. A good example of this is the Family iOS app, where everything feels very snappy. They probably use Spring-based animations, which we will call later, but if we would have to convert it into an easing type, it would be an ease out curve. Ease in out starts slowly, speeds up, and then slows down towards the end, like a car. This is the most satisfying curve to look at in my opinion. I use it for anything that is already on the screen and needs to move to a new position or morph into a new form. This is a good animation for this type of easing curve because we move an element into a new position. Next up we have ease in. It's the opposite of ease out. It starts slowly and ends fast. And due to its slow start, it should generally be avoided as it can make the interface feel sluggish and less responsive. Compare these two modals. Even though they have the same duration, the one on the right feels faster due to the ease out curve being applied. The one on the left uses an ease in curve. Now we have linear, and since linear animation move at a constant speed, it should generally be avoided as it can make motion feel robotic and unnatural. The only time I would really use linear is for a loading spinner or other continuous animation where there are no interactions. The last one is ease. A similar curve to ease in out, but it's asymmetrical. It starts faster and ends slower than an ease in out curve. I use this one mostly for hover effects that transition color, background color, opacity, and so on. And that's basically it for the built-in easing curves. In the resources section of this part, I included a link to a set of custom easing curves that I use very often. They are sorted from the weakest to the strongest acceleration for each type. All the examples you have seen up until this point are actually using these custom easings. The acceleration of the built-in ones are just not strong enough. Here you can see the difference between the built-in ease in out curve and a custom one from the blueprint. The only time I personally use a built-in easing curve is for hover effects when I reach for the ease curve, which by the way is the default timing function for transitions in CSS. You can also create your own custom easing curves by using the cubic Bezier function in CSS. This is a great way to experiment and get a better feel for how different curves work. Or you can use a very specific easing for a very specific scenario, like I did with Vol. Vol uses an easing type that is made purely to mimic iOS's sheet. I haven't made it myself, it's made by the Ionic framework, but this gave the component a more native feel with little effort. And that's basically all you need to know for now. If you are not comfortable with crafting animations just yet, I highly encourage you to reference the blueprint as much as possible. I also encourage you to try every easing from the blueprint after this lesson, as that will give you a better understanding and feel of how each curve works in practice. Trying out the custom easing curves would also be a great thing that you could do, as again, it will give you a better feel for each easing type.